10 or 12 know about what? It's weird. I talk and make points longer than 30. Thank you for letting me know that again as you started a new file. I know you really. So, if you're following along, and I'll make a point of uploading the first 5 videos today because I think they're not bad. I just don't upload everything. I'm just bored. Nobody listens to them anyway. But I'm having a good day. I'm going to leave that question hanging and change the subject now because I have been talking about it a long time. And I find that the camera goes deep. It's like the Lord's way of saying, Brandon, take a breath. Nobody's listening anyway. You know, the point where the camera's useful, and then it's like, dude, nobody's listening. You can take a break. You're not at Lloyd's of London. I need to go now. I just shat myself. The audience, a little hush comes over the audience. Wow. Children are like, this guy's cool. He just crapped himself. I need to go and change, and these camera people are going to follow us along and show you exactly what it looks like. Those of you who want to stay and watch, there'll be an open bar. Those of you who want to go outside and vomit right now, please feel free to do so. And there's people saying, wow, man, this guy really shot himself. I've seen babies that don't make that much damage. Deuce is wild, motherfucker. There's teenagers trying to think of like really appropriate, funny things to say because it basically begs for it. It's like, wow, this man was pushing brown before I was born. You know? Meanwhile, relationships are made and lost. Some guys lean to the strange girl beside her and go, can you believe this shit? And she's like, yeah, I know, right? We should hook up later. Have some fudge mountain cake. Other relationships come to a very certain conclusion when he leans in around his girlfriend and says, huh? What does this make you think of, eh? And she's like, get away from me. Or maybe he takes credit and thinks, so, guess you're pretty glad you came out with me tonight, eh? Exciting first date. We could tell our grandchildren. I was there. I don't think the only chance of me being a critical part of an event that people want being a part of is if like something awful happens to me. I'm pretty sure I'll be walking through Times Square and there's a big and helicopters will start circling because some middle-aged white woman saw one of my videos and decided that I raped her. It's like, there, you, sir, everyone stand back. This man is to be isolated away from society as being insufficiently thankful for the pains that we all take to go along with it all instead of bitching like a psycho pussy and expecting people to listen to him. You are wrong, wrong, wrong. And it's time we put you away for good. And, I have, because I know that everything I'm talking about is absolute bullshit to every scientist and every decent paying citizen in the world. You might say that's a bit of a cop-out, but, I mean, it is, isn't it? I mean, isn't that kind of the point of all my videos? Isn't that the point of my life's work? Who gives a shit? What the fuck are you talking about? That's going to be my legacy. Someone's going to dredge up all my videos and all my so-called books and poems and put it into a giant anthology of who the fuck gives a shit about what this guy's talking about. And everyone will look at it and go, yeah, man, that's how I feel too. You too? Yeah, me too. God, this is the biggest pit of shit in human history. Children and birth and sociopathy and cults. The roles people play, and the crimes that we belay to each other that aren't really against the law, but they help everything that becomes to be against the law. So by the time someone slashes someone's tires at the local Chevron, he's had what I would consider an endless pandemonium of crimes committed against him from the time he was born. And if we made any of those against the law, we'd actually have peaceful fucking lives. But the banks don't want you to do that. You stupid motherfucker. And you can point the finger at me all you fucking want. But time will know the difference between a man like you and a man like me. What kind of man do you want to be? Hey? The man who told the line his entire fucking life? Who's someone who got out of the fucking movie theater and stopped thinking that you're Jason Bourne, have a mind of your own. Because you weren't born Jason Bourne. You weren't born anybody, were you? And your universe came from nothing. And a fucking guard, all kinds of butchered and tortured English, talking about all kinds of sick, stupid shit buried in the fucking language that's coursing through your brain. Because you don't know a fucking thing about witchcraft. And already the sounds it's making in your cerebellum are not making their way to their neocortex. So you don't realize that Adam and Eve is a play on words. You see, the word soul isn't in the Bible, but the word daemon is right at the beginning of the Bible. And that's God. God is the daemon in Adam and Eve. He rules them from inside their gender, in their genitalia. And everything that they come from and everything they do, he moves them around and prosecutes them. He gets them to pick a fruit. He gets the other person to eat it. He gets a serpent to come along to make everything tasteless forever. And anyone who thinks that something started off in a land far, far away is convicted as a delusional piece of shit. If they don't understand that shit is all you've got. And go along with the way that barbarians and humans, pieces of shit that grew legs and a mouth and eyes like your mommy and daddy, found a way how to fucking get along and do something in this short span of time before you become dust or dirt or crap or even more debt to your fellow man. So work fucking hard to pay for yourself, you piece of shit. Right? Come on, work harder. What are you doing listening to me, you motherfucker? You lazy cunt. Hey, is this really worth your while? Is this like a regular YouTube video? You know? Or is this a real man? Okay? And there's no fucking round table to go talk to the white knights of creation. You just need to hear the sound of the voice of a real fucking man who can be afraid, who can be hunted, who can be stalked, but has a voice of his fucking own. And that's all you fucking well need. Eyes and ears, holes in your head, call them what you want. So the word daemon is in there. Right? And it says in the Bible that Jesus is not the Son of God, which is why he's calling, Abba, Abba, why have you forsaken me? It's a very critical moment because it's already been subconsciously presaged in the text that God has disowned his Son, or has stated that he is not in fact the legitimate Son of God. It's right there. Lawyers wrote the Bible. Right? And they say every year, oh, we still have a deficit, even though it's against the law. And the people in the powdered wigs leave. Still a deficit. You know that's against the law, don't you? Well, okay, we're going now. Right? Why is having a deficit against law? And yet they never put them in jail. It's a ceremony, right? Because the deficit is supposed to be there. Because the whole system is criminal. It has to be able to as it wants. It has to be the way things are in your mind, the way things people have meant them to be, and nothing like the way they appear, all at the same time. And it screws up your subconscious and your conscious mind, right? It's not just a lie. It's a monster of deception in every way that you learn to read the Bible, anthropology, so-called stars, and everything else, the language of time, your labor, your wages, your earning, all of your TV shows, all the messages of all the music, to occupy your mind with a confusing dialectic where God is the devil and good and evil are the same thing. Right? It means nothing to say that God is good. Right? He could be a good devil for all you know. He's a good devil and a good God. He's both. He needs to be. And he does, you'll notice, whatever he needs to do. And what are you? Someone who doesn't have a will of their own. The same as you are when you go to a court of law. Right? You are being prosecuted. You have no will of your own. They have total jurisdiction over you. Or at least the suggestion is there. You're being prosecuted. You're being preyed upon. For sport, for money, for control, as part of the ceremony of human torture. again, to totally enforce and demoralize human beings, right? You pay through the nose for renewable resource, petroleum. There's carburetors that won't work the way they were originally designed because of the additives in all the gas. And the first carburetors could atomize gas, and you could go for weeks on a tank of gas. Now we barely go a few days, and it costs more and more for something they tell you is a non-renewable resource. So they've lied to you in every sense, from geology, from physics, from advertising, from money, from everything. And you pay and you pay and you pay. And then a Paulie officer, Paul from the Bible is a tax collector. Saul, Paul, he puts a Paul on the Saul. Saul is no better than Paul, but the same person. They're both tax collectors. Apollonian tax collectors, heroic tax collectors, right? A police officer is an heroic tax collector. He has a kind of luster to him. He's as good or evil, like Saul or Paul, as he needs to be to collect his taxes, right? He walks around like a knight in shining armor to collect taxes. It's confusing, it's demoralizing, and humans can be trained to be a part of this, and they don't even know what to do. That's why when they speak out of two sides of their mouth. They have the power of being able to do different things at the same time. Lying, controlling narratives, things like that. Right? Imagine human beings who could be trained to operate on their first assumptions and to be able to protect priorities which never need to be made clear to you and probably are counterintuitive to everything you think the law is supposed to be about. Right? You understand? You just have to have over 190 IQ and you can understand what I'm saying. If you don't, fuck off. Thank you. But if you keep listening to me, your IQ will increase. And you'll learn to be able to understand what I'm saying. Your brain will be able to go along with it, like you go along to the lyrics of your favorite song from Stupid Piece of Shit, who works for the royal family, right? Is practicing black magic on you. But it sounds good, doesn't it? Free falling, right? Never be safe, run wild. We built this city on rock and roll. It's all good stuff. Of course, it's meant to be. It's really good and it's really evil. They're constantly insulting you. Right? We built this city. The city are evil spirits. But let's say, it's like saying we built this army on the rock and the king and the Ra and Al. Right? Life comes from a stone. The string is sounded from the stone of the ethereal realms. That's why Arthur gets his sword out of a stone, because that stone first rang through creation. Rock, king, roll. Roll the dice. Take your chances. Dice has ice. Christ has ice. Right? Denial is ISIS. Right? Your denial is as though ISIS. And ISIS is the I in the Isa in Mona Lisa or Monai. Here's mud in your eye. You're a match for Monai. You're Cain in your Abel, and the Abel in your King. You're Cainable. You're Cainable. Right? They can turn you into something that helps improve the maw of civilization in chewing up your own flesh and blood, right? And spitting it back at you. Here's crap in your face. Right? The whole world is meant to use your power against you every day of your life. And yet, look at what you do still. How powerful you are. In the greatest darkness, you can see, with all the agony of the world, the tremendous power of the soul of man and of our mother. If we are to solve the problem of being orphaned from them and becoming our original mommy and daddy, we have to see the power of the soul in the darkness. Their power to labor under these delusions, these suggestions, this level of criminality, this prison of death that has been designed for us. sartorial measures spill from our lips, even as we commend and love one another. One another. Right? This is why Buddhist monks say you should picture those you love as a dead person. And if that feels slightly off for you, you're not enlightened yet. You're not fully compassionate. You must be sensitized to such a selfish thing as not wanting people you love to die, and not wanting to be left to stare at a corpse and still feeling bad about it, like some stupid schmuck. This is the kind of books that these Buddhist monks, these bodhisattvas, right, that are on your local bookshelves, right? They're disgusting pigs. They're witches, constantly insulting you and casting these crazy perverted spells on TV, in the movies. You know, the way to solve the problem is to lie, of course. You know, that's really what's going to do it. Because in a sense, it's a lie in a system like this, right? When you lie down. I lie me down with the sheep, with the shepherd. I lie me down with the sheep. I lie me down with the shepherd. I should take a break. That dog definitely smells me. So we started today saying there's this happy world and it's being policed by happy people and everything's good. But what if there were a problem? This orphaning, this abandonment of human beings that you find in all TV shows and all books, the abandonment of human beings from their maternal heritage, from the bonds of blood, and converted into the economic bonds of the world. Another kind of blood bond, because your blood is your mind. Your blood becomes you, becomes your body. People look where they do based on what's happened to their blood. The more toxic your blood, the more it affects your face. Right? And faces are like feces. They're one letter away from feces. And Iya is the substance of the ethers. Ethers, feces, faces. There's a reason why they all say the same thing. Okay. I had, after my dad hit me, I developed acne all over my face. So the day finally came, I had such a big sack of pus on the side of my face that my dad basically ordered me to go to the bathroom and take care of it because it was so disgusting. Right? And why not? I mean, he had polluted my blood and my blood was sick. And I went to school every day and it was polluting my blood and that was sick and my home was sick. So where did I have to go? The bathroom. And I punctured it. And probably, if you were in a science lab, probably like something like 5 mils of pus came out of, 5 or 10 mils of pus came out of my cheek that day. Brown and gooey. I never saw pus like that in my life. It was disgusting. I mean, this was like my cheek was full of pus. That was just one of the zits on my face. They weren't zits. They were giant continents of red welts all over my skin filled with this pus. And I went through this pussy stage of my life for years. I had acne all through my 20s, my 30s, more or less. My face constantly erupts in acne all the time, blackheads. My back has stopped getting zits in my 40s and 50s. It's like, oh, thank goodness. Right? I just have one behind my heart that I have to pop down there. The same place. It's a little cyst behind my heart. And it's helping me. It collects things and I get rid of it. It got really big at one point. I put some tea tree on it and it just sort of welled up. And it just burst, right? The same as that cheek did. And 25 later, it burst and went down my back. My t-shirt soaked it up. I went home, took a shower, and I was still pushing pus from behind my heart. Pus, 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 right? And that was from living with the violence of my mother, right? Which hadn't been improved by the violence of my father to my mother, or my mother to my father. And so this family, these mother-father-child relationships, had been co-opted by, on the one hand, pure rage, and two, Christian love. And no, you notice that very few people want to think of their father as violent, and certainly nobody wants to think of their mother as violent. Women as violent, except just the ones that are in prison. But I'd like to change your mind on that and say anyone can be violent. And if anyone can be hurt, they can be violent. It doesn't mean that because you're hurt, you'll be violent. But while you're being hurt, because you have been hurt, and whether you even know it or not, it's totally not fair, you might have to learn to restrain yourself, because it opens you up, more or less, depending on the situation, to other things. Now, you may find that it already opened you up to other things, and you can't totally control that, and that's true. You have a right to be upset, and you might even have a right to appear violent to some people, violently angry at least. And if someone is violently angry, or just really angry, depending on how you define that, does that make them wrong? Don't you think humans should just be angry more often? You ever heard someone yelling in public and think, oh, I heard a man yelling at the bylaw officer. He was a tourist. And you know what? I know they're cunts. I know they're cunts. I study my environment. I know the bylaw kinds of people are complete assholes. I don't disrespect them. I don't mean to disrespect them, but they are. There's never anything to do with the law that how you are is a big part of being that you are. And to me, anyone who does any kind of law enforcement basically has to be a pretty creepy individual. Not a creepy individual, that's fine. You would say that's not a nice way to talk about people. But you gave up the right to have your feelings protected when you put on that uniform, right? Which protects you from things that I'm not protected from, and allows you the pleasure, the honor, and the privilege, however difficult, to lay hands on other people, and to issue warrants and fines and liens, and to make compelling and persuasive insinuations into the space and peace of mind of even potentially totally innocent people, whom you may not be able to serve as well as you've been evinced that you think you can, and by the culture, and by the training, and by the mind of your profession, which is not a perfect mind. It's a rough human tool. Sophisticated as it is, it's also sophisticated in how it ends up having certain persuasive effects on people without ever giving you occasion to think ill of it. It's like a psychopathic great uncle, Uncle Sam. And you think Uncle Sam is great, and it's great, and the TV shows say it's great, and it's wonderful, but just understand that that isn't necessarily true, right? It isn't true that North Korea is the best country in the world, but if you live there, you're not allowed to say otherwise. We know that human brains can be controlled by group environments, so that a world can seem completely wonderful to you, that's completely deadly and unlawful to other people, right? And it's a difficult thought. But it's a difficult world. It's a difficult thought, but it's a difficult world. And if we never had difficult thoughts, perhaps we'd never have a difficult world. Or perhaps if we never had a difficult world, we'd never have difficult thoughts. And people kind of do an automatic chicken and the egg when they hear difficult thoughts. It's still like, well, if you didn't have those difficult thoughts, the world would be a better place. It's like, or maybe the world would be a better place if we had more. Maybe if the world was the place you think it was, I wouldn't have those thoughts. Maybe if no child got orphaned in any way, right? The biggest problem your child psychologist should be talking to you about is, in any sense, the abandonment of children. In any sense, in every possible sense. Not because we're complete psychics of the human mind, but because we can see the effects of it. It's like a theory you could draw. It's not quantum mechanics. It's not like how you can watch your favorite show in the next 3 days with an efficient use of caffeine and cigarettes. It's like a different type of theory. It's kind of like a real one, kind of a serious adult theory. Making myself more bitter, but it is some bitter things. You feel them on your lips and they feel bitter. Maybe you hear them and you hear the bitterness. Even in my lifetime as Frederick Chopin, I was known as someone with a bitter mind. If you see pictures of me as a Dakota Sioux native shaman named Tielo Tatonka or Short Bull, you see there's a certain sadness on my face, but it is unmistakably me. The only face I've ever seen of mine was in a book in the archives of a local island, where I was being photographed before being sent after World War II as an Irish, probably 17, 18, whose family probably had not immigrated too long ago. I was born to an Irish grandmother. Griffin is the name, and that is the name I write under at cosmicheaven.blogspot.com. Griffin was not my name in that lifetime. But nonetheless, I claim a feeling of natural heritage with the British Isles. That means I think they were invaded. I think the Druids were routed out. I think the lawful kingdoms of the earth were succumbed to parasitical behavior with a stupefying ability to sow the seeds of a world that would rely upon a very serpentine way of speaking, a very double, triple-tongued sort of world. Even as the Bible speaks out of two sides of its mouth, top, bottom, bottom to top. It's quite insulting. And just listen to someone who's taken it all in and believes all of it. It's like they're the friendly predators or something. The geese, right? The lone heron in the center of that picture. Well, it just passes so many anxious women. So white women don't know how to be. I'm the same way. People like in Western North America, Canada, whatever, they don't know how to be. At least in these rural areas, it shows the kind of dislocation we suffer. We don't know how to be natural. If you took me as an example and took me into your neighborhood or whatever your world, you would see that I don't really know how to behave. I don't know how to relax. I swear, if you haven't guessed that already, you invite me to your house, you ply me with the most wonderful city,